Hello everyone, back to today's second video. So we're going to have a look at the weather for next week's 10 days for today's second video. This will take us to around the 10th of August. So talking about the last month of the meteorological summer now. The August, of course, is the final month of summer when it comes to statistics. Anyway, it is meteorologically questionable because hot weather can extend well out beyond August. But the defined sort of period for summer is the first day of June to the final day of August. So the summer is moving into the late summer phase now, really. So we'll talk you through everything that's going to be happening in the next week to 10 days for today's second video. At the end of the video, we will have a little bit of a look at a couple of long-range models for the winter. I thought I'd just sneak those in at the end of today's video. Probably shouldn't be showing you those too early, really, but I thought I'd let you have a look and see what the Beige Climate Centre and Jams Tech models are forecasting for the winter of 2018-19 at the moment. But before I begin all of that, I've just got to say a big thank you to the latest donors for Gazovic. So we've had 3 donations come in the last 24 hours via our Gazovic PayPal page. So I've got to say, big thank you to Callum Evans for becoming a donor for Gazovic, and also to Alistair Kemp for becoming a donor for Gazovic, and again a big thank you to Daniel Mackenzie who has also become a donor for Gazovic. So big thank you to Callum, to Alistair and to Daniel for becoming the latest donors for Gazovic. If you would like to join Callum, Alistair and Daniel and become a donor for Gazovic, then all you need to do, well, there's 2 ways of doing it. You can do it via our PayPal page. You miss it, I'm on the Gazovic PayPal page right now. We leave the link in the description box at YouTube, and also link to this page and all the pages at Gazovic. So you just come here and you've got a PayPal account. It's very simple. You just donate whatever amount of money you would like to Gazovic. There's also the Patreon page, so if you would like to become a patron and give a monthly donation, it can be anything as little as $1 a month, then all you have to do again is come to the Gazovic Patreon page. We have the link to this in the description at YouTube, and also link to it at all of the pages at Gazovic. So you just come here, sign up for a Patreon account, and then you become a patron for Gazovic by giving a monthly donation for however much you would like. So the PayPal donations are one-off. This is kind of like a monthly donation. And you'll get a shout out in the video, as Callum, Alistair and Daniel have done. You'll get a mention and a thank you publicly from myself for your donation for Gazovic. So unless you'd rather stay anonymous, a few people have chosen to stay anonymous. That's absolutely fine. If you'd like to back, just leave a little note with your donation. And we'll just say something like thank you to this anonymous donor, something like that. But yeah, it's helping to fund the website, helping to keep all of content completely free of charge. So it means that we can bring you the content as you want it, as you need it. We're primarily ads funded and will be remaining, so this is kind of like just another sort of revenue stream to help us fund the website. And a big thank you to all of the donors and the patrons for Gazovic. And just say, if you would like, if you rather not have your name mentioned, but you might want to have your website mentioned, for example, or maybe you might want to have your business mentioned, then we can do that for you as well via your donation. So it really is up to you how you would like the shout out to be presented in the video. We just say a big thank you to all of the patrons and the donors for Gazovic. So this is the GFS temperature and precipitation ensemble chart for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average, and we're looking at Brighton down on the south coast today. So temperatures in terms of the upper air temperature at the moment at Brighton are around average, but you can see that quite clearly we're going to be going above average in the next few days, going into another very warm spell through the second half of the week, and into weekend is going to turn quite hot, and that lasts into the start of next week as well. Now, there is some uncertainty about how hot it's getting next week. So we have got several ensemble members here that for a couple of days from around the 6th through to the 8th of August are going very, very hot almost probably to record-breaking heat levels at around 20 degrees at 850 HPA. An extreme heat wave is going to be engulfing much of Spain, Portugal and France. We are still unsure about how far north we're going to get that very hot air. What we can say is it is going to turn very warm to hot, quite obviously. You can see that clearly from the ensembles, but just how hot it's going to get, will we get that 20 Celsius isotherm into the UK, even if it's only for a few hours at the start of next week? That's where the uncertainty is still creeping in. I've got a few cooler ensemble members as well during this period, it has to be said. The ensemble mean, which is the white line here, that's coming out at around 15 Celsius at 850 HPA. That's kind of like the level of heat that we had at the back end of last week. So 15 Celsius, 850 HPA would take the temperature probably to the mid-30s Celsius, something like that. So it'd be very hot, but it wouldn't be record-breaking. These ensemble members up here that are going up to 20 degrees at 850 HPA. They will be threatening the record. If that was to come off, if we was to get the temperature to 20 degrees at 850 HPA, in the far southeast of the country, we would be threatening the all-time temperature record in the UK, which is 38.5 degrees, set on the 10th of August, I think it's 10th of August, 2003, around 101 Fahrenheit. We'll be threatening that if those ensemble members are right. But if the ensemble mean is right, which is around 15 degrees at 850 HPA, then we're talking about, again, a return to sort of mid-30s Celsius temperatures for the far south and southeast, around 34, 35 degrees, something like that. But it is certainly going to be turning much warmer again through the end of the week into weekend and the start of next week. Beyond that, temperatures are returning back closer to average, so it does look as though this spike in potential, this heat spike, but might occur at the start of next week, should be relatively short-lived, and then we should push through cooler air back in from off the Atlantic. Lots of dry weather coming up at Brighton as well, so there's no precipitation for the rest of this week, and into the weekend it stays dry, and even through to the start of next week, only a minimum number of precipitation spikes, then lots of dry weather. In fact, you would say that's a very dry ensemble, really, from start to finish, and the finish is going into the middle part of August. So we have had some rainfall over the past few days, but it looks like the prolonged dry spell is very much on its way back. Now, if you think that ensemble chart was hot, look at this. This is Madrid. Same idea. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Madrid. And, well, we're already very hot, of course, up to around 20 to 25 degrees at 850 HPA, but it's actually going off the scale by the weekend. Look at this, we're going pretty much off the scale up to 30 degrees at 850 HPA. That's going to be taking temperatures well over 40 degrees Celsius. So 40 degrees Celsius is around 100, I think it might be a little bit wrong with this, but I think it's about 104 Fahrenheit. So it'll be going above that probably. It'll be going to sort of 42, 43 degrees in the centre of Spain. Absolutely unbearable heat going on up there, and it could well break records. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the all-time European temperature record tumbling somewhere in Spain or Portugal in the next few days. So an incredible heat wave will be engulfing not only Spain but also Portugal, and probably particularly southern parts of France as well. Into the middle part of the month, we do find that the temperatures start to slide down a little bit. You can't actually see it because of this box just here all that well. The temperature should start to return back closer, something a little bit more sensible by the time you get through to the second week of August, and no real precipitation to speak of actually in the middle of Spain. So after a relatively cool and fairly unsettled start to the summer, it's a late start to this, things are getting quite serious down there in the Iberian part of the continent. Temperature anomalies for the next week look like this. It's going from the 31st of July to the 8th of August. Again, all parts of Europe are coming out hotter than average. Look how hot it is down over Spain and Portugal. That's what we're just talking about. So temperature anomalies are around 8 to 10 degrees above average for them. bear in mind it's a very hot time of year anyway, so if you're talking about a temperature anomaly of around 10 degrees above what would already be a very hot time of the year, then you're talking about incredibly searing, blistering heat going on down there in Iberia. And this hot weather does extend into France as well. In fact, all parts of Europe are coming out warmer than average. The coolest areas to average are across Ireland, and also, as has been the case all summer, up over Iceland. Scandinavia, not quite as hot as it has been in the past few days, but still coming out very much warmer than average as well. For the UK, so we're around 5 degrees above average. It's going to be a very warm to hot week. But remember, it's still uncertain how far north we're getting that searing heat. And then we go through to the precipitation anomaly, which I appear not to have up, so I'll just very quickly flip the chart over to precipitation. There we go, and we can see that the precipitation anomaly is coming out very dry again for the week ahead. So after this little interruption of the dry spell, the drought, we're going back to dry conditions in the next week, the 31st of July to the 8th of August. Looks substantially drier than average, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Western Europe as well. So let's have a look at some models. This is how the GFS is looking for Friday, with this big ridge extending in from the Atlantic into Europe. We're going back to high pressure. Back comes the heat wave, and that high pressure will be dominating the weather over the weekend, slap bang over top of the country. So it's going to be a very warm to hot weekend, lots of dry weather too, real barbecue weekend on the way. That's to the start of next week, with that high pressure just beginning to drift a little bit towards our east, and that's allowing the wind to turn more into a southeasterly direction. We've got this very, very hot air down across Spain, Portugal and France as well, and that's going to start heading northwards as the wind turns into the south. There's the upper air temperatures for Monday, so you can see the reason we've got this searing heat over Spain and Portugal. There's the upper air temperatures there, incredibly hot temperature going on. We are actually pushing the 25 Celsius isotherm with these pink colours into the Bay of Biscay, which is very unusual indeed. But 20 Celsius isotherm is into the northern part of the Bay of Biscay, and also to western side of France, so that's very unusual as well. The 15 Celsius isotherm, which is kind of like the temperatures we had at the back end of last week, they're coming back into the southern and southwestern part of the UK. That's Tuesday next week. That searing heat has developed an area of low pressure around the Bay of Biscay, but actually we remain for Tuesday under high pressure, still dragging up the air from a southerly to southeasterly direction. That's Wednesday next week, as that low pressure gets just a little bit closer to us. This high pressure over Scandinavia is holding on quite well. There's the upper air temperatures. By the middle of next week, we've again got the 15 Celsius isotherm into the southern part of the country, so that should be lifting temperatures to around the mid-30s Celsius. But the extreme dangerous heat is still over France, Spain and Portugal, so just not quite making it over the channel. But nevertheless, it is threatening. It is very, very close. To the second half next week, low pressure actually takes over. That thundery low begins to take over across the country, and so we start to break things down, increasing risk of thunderstorms breaking out. We go into the extended range, so that's day 10, which is Friday 10th of August. This is day 11, Saturday 11th of August. Low pressure is over top of the country, then producing no doubt heavy showers and thunderstorms. Into the more extended range, so high pressure tries to keep going in the south and southeast, but low pressure is starting to develop out to the northwest, maybe just hinting that things could be starting to turn a little bit more changeable as we turn up into the middle part of the month. This is the ECMWF. Again, the ridge is building at the end of the week, bringing back a return to dry and, for the south, pretty hot conditions. The high pressure reigns in control over the weekend. It will be a very warm to hot weekend, proper barbecue weekend coming up. Then into the early part of next week, gradually low pressure starts to slink in from off the Atlantic, in a different position with this low pressure compared to the GFS. It's off the western coast of Scotland, whereas the GFS has it down here off the southwestern tip of the country and down towards the west of Biscay. There's the upper air temperatures, so they're still very warm to hot, especially for the south through the early part of next week. That's for 15 Celsius isotherm just there. This is for 20 Celsius isotherm just there. So again, it's through Biscay, that extreme heat, and it is into many parts of France as well. Have to watch out for what's going on with that. Now, this is Wednesday next week, looking rather different to what the GFS is showing. This takes low pressure away to our east. So obviously some sort of thundery breakdown has taken place there through the early part of next week. And we're putting down much cooler air from the north as well. There's the upper air temperatures. So you can see a huge contrast in temperatures. Germany to France, we've got the 20 Celsius isotherm. Northern France through the Low Countries got the 15 Celsius isotherm, and then that's a 10 Celsius isotherm just there, clearing southern parts of England and Wales. That's a 5 Celsius isotherm just there to the north of Scotland. So much cooler by the middle part of next week after some sort of thundery breakdown. And then into the extended range with the ECM, it looks like that. Actually going to quite a cool phase with high pressure out to the west and the northwest of the country, beginning to reposition itself more towards Greenland and Iceland. A low pressure trough has slipped down through Scandinavia, so that's a big change on anything we've had for a very long time, and the winds are turning more into a northerly type direction. Upper air temperatures are actually turning very cool over Scotland, and all places are much cooler by that point as well. That's a very, very different scenario. We are seeing the models playing with lots of different scenarios at the moment, chopping and changing from run to run. That's usually indicative of some sort of a pattern change at work that the models are trying to work out through this sort of second week of August. So where August is going, it's still a mystery. August has always been the joker in the pack for this summer. It's always been the 1 month that has proved to be a bit of an enigma, a bit of a mystery, and even with only a few hours left to go before we begin August 2018, there does still seem to be quite a lot of uncertainty. What we can say is that the first week is going to have more hot weather, but then where things go after that into the sort of main part of August, that is still quite uncertain. GM looks like this. High pressure is through the country at the end of the week, into the weekend. You'll have a barbecue weekend, so get those barbecues sizzling to the start of next week. It looks hot for 20 Celsius isotherm with the GM, as it has consistently been all week really, is closer to us. There it is. Going into the channel, the 15 Celsius isotherm is across southern parts of England as well. So it looks pretty hot there through the early part of next week, but very quickly turning thundery. Low pressure within that hot and unstable air, very quickly developing around the UK. However, the GM does bring that 20 Celsius isotherm into the southeast, far southeast of the country on Tuesday the 7th of August. So if that's right, at some point, it depends very much on timings, but it is not impossible that Monday the 6th of August, late in the afternoon, might threaten the all-time UK temperature record down in the extreme southeastern part of the country. It could do, but it will depend greatly on timings and whether that 20 Celsius isotherm gets to us. Remember, the GFS and the ECM are not getting that 20 Celsius isotherm into the UK, so we do need to stay cautious on this, but that's really quite extreme heat for the early part of next week. By Wednesday, however, low pressure has cleared away to our east. We're turning winds into a cooler northwesterly direction, and then in the extended range with the GM, we re-establish the ridge again. So after a cool down through the middle part of next week and a thundery breakdown, we go back to high pressure and really quite warm conditions into the second half of next week. Notice, however, the Atlantic is starting to look a little bit more lively. It looks like there's a little bit more oomph beginning to develop within the jet stream out in the Atlantic, and so this ridge is quite a strong ridge, but these areas of low pressure for jet stream are beginning to place more pressure on the ridge there by day 10. I think so. How much longer that ridge will go on for is a bit of a uncertain factor. Right, I did promise I'd show you some couple of models for winter before we go. So these are the 500 millibar height anomalies for winter 2018-19 from the Beijing Climate Centre. This is what it's showing. It has below average heights out to the northwest of the country, above average heights over and to the east of the country. So a bit of a complicated weather pattern that, but a fair amount of settled weather would be expected in that scenario. Temperature anomalies look like this, coming out very close to average. Notice the North Atlantic is quite cold, so probably pulling the air out of Greenland into the North Atlantic. For the UK, our temperature anomaly is very close to average. Precipitation anomalies overall hinting at being on the drier than average side for the winter. So a lot of high pressure, fairly quiet, and temperatures not too far from the average is forecast for Beijing Climate Centre for winter 18-19. And then Jamstec does look cold. It's going for colder than average winter for the UK and for northwestern Europe. Very cold winter being forecast across much of America. By the way, all I'd say about that is that Jamstec has a little bit of a cold bias when you're several months away. Most of these long-range models are climate models. Most of them seem to be biased towards the warmer side of things. This one is always a bit different, always seems to be a bit biased towards the colder side of things, and then it will correct as you get closer to the time frame and it gets warmer. So at the moment he's going for a cold winter for the UK and for northwestern Europe, but how seriously you can take that, I'm not sure. Precipitation anomalies finally from Jamstec. Not much of a signal, but if anything, probably hinting at being a little bit on the drier than average side, which is something that you would expect to see in a cold winter, because of course warm air holds more moisture. So if it's mild, it tends to be wet. If it's cold, then it tends to be dry. But any precipitation it does fall tends to be falling as snow. So that's how those two models are seeing the winter. You'll probably see a couple more sneaked in over the next couple of weeks. And then as we get to the end of August, we will do a sneak peek at the winter of 18-19 before we begin the winter updates at the beginning of September. So we've covered everything today. We've covered everything from the possibility of record-breaking heat to cold weather in the winter. Who would have thought that? Hope you found the video interesting and informative. Tomorrow we've got the 5-day forecast coming up. We'll also have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days as well, and probably including the Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. In that, we released the 30-day forecast from the ECMWF as well, by the way, earlier on today. So don't forget to check out that video if you'd like to have a look at that. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.